pillar number one, right? The biggest mistakes here is your personal credits. As we just mentioned over here, recent derogatories, having your lates, collection charge-offs, bankruptcies, again, these are all certain aspects that a lender is going to look at it and say, okay, well, what is the character and behavior of this report, right? The numbers tell a story about us. So the series of events in a short period of time, really can really understand, hey, was there a certain period that you had some lates or a charge off or a collection? As an underwriter, I ask myself these certain questions. Number one, is the debt open or is it closed? Right? If you have a collection or a charge off, is there still a balance? Right? It's going to make a significant impact on somebody's decision on being able to lend you an approval of a loan or credit card or anything, correct? So anything open has to be removed right away. There's no way any bank is going to give you, or at least the probability of you getting an approval would be very, very low. And then if it is closed and paid off, for an example, or settled, or if you have a late, for example, is the age of the derogatory less or more than 3 years? Now, of course, this is all very subjective. There's always exceptions to the rule. And I've been able to bypass somebody having a late, just happened 3-4 months ago, but there was a good story. And I'm going to be able to help you craft some of those stories today, later on, right now as well. But again, some of these recent derogatories, late collection charge-offs, if you do have a collection or a charge-off, and it is, in my opinion, best not to pay it off, at least in the very beginning. The reason why I say that is that, there's certain things in credit repair. I used to own a credit repair company back in the day. And my whole claim to fame is, hey, I'm going to be able to get you results within 2 to 8 weeks. And there's ways of looking at legal loopholes to bypass and get rid of these things. I've had my credit down to a 400, 450 before, and I understand that somebody helped me. So there are ways, and there are good people that can help you. But again, there's certain things. But if you start paying on that debt, if it's a collection, they call you, hey, just make your $20 a month monthly payments. That's called debt validation. So, there's a certain rule as far as, there's like 10 different ways in how you can remove things from your credit report. Now, if you have proven that you're making the small monthly payment and you validate a debt, now essentially the way credit repair works is that it's one of the tactics is, listen, yes, if the debt does exist, but it's how they sold the debt to the collection agency from the creditor, right? That process, a lot of times these collection agencies are not doing it correctly. And that's what you can contest, and that's how you can get things removed from your report. Lates, I would say, is one of the hardest to get removed. There are processors out there that can just remove the whole entire account. I have one person that, a processor that I used to work with, and, I had a friend of mine that had a 60-day late on a US bank account, and he provided, some elements of, hey, you got to close the account, change the address, all these different steps, and he did it, and he was able to remove the whole account. So I was like, oh, shit. That's pretty interesting over there. But there's also the cause and effect, right? If you have a thin file and you have to remove that one late, will that harm your credit because you need enough data on your credit report, right? There's a lot of these different little small many things that cause an effect. Hey, should I just let it age, or should I just remove the whole entire account? Because there are ways of doing that. Again, I am not a credit repair, specialist in that case. But again, being in this industry for so long, when I want to hire somebody, I want to know exactly how they're doing things. I ask a million questions and just get down to the science so that I know that if they're full of shit or not. Right. So if you are going to use a credit repair company, I used to own a company called Approved Credit Score back, probably about almost 10 years ago. And here's some good questions to ask. Number one, do they charge up front, or are they a pay for deletion, or are they a monthly reoccurring subscription? You just have to ask yourself this question, right? If you're a monthly subscription, what incentive do they have to be able to help you and get rid of the derogatory, whatever it is, as fast as possible? The companies in the model for Lexington Law and these credit pros, et cetera, they want to stretch you out at least 10 to at least 15 months because they're making $100 a month from that. So you're still making that. They're still making their $1,000 or $1,500 in total value for that client. So these are all certainly the logic, right? The common sense factor, from that. Now, I do have processors that they would charge a little bit upfront, and But again, I go through a full-on vetting process because it is a necessary evil within our industry, right? Because if there's that one or two, three things that are needing to be corrected, you don't want to just say, I'm sorry, go ahead and figure it out and come back to us. I'm always a solutionist in figuring out that. If you do hire somebody, look, number one, what are the past results? What are the proof? And not just doing some screenshots. Maybe if they're willing to provide, a Zoom, log into some credit reports, some logins, some credit monitoring, looking at before and afters. These are all certain things that I do with the interview process of working with processors. Like I have somebody that I've been working with for over literally almost about 8, 9 years now, and he's about a 95% success rate. We have collections and charge-offs, inquiries. That's actually one of the reasons why I started Inquiry Movers, because I didn't want to pay $500 a file to him anymore. So that's one of the pain points why I created Inquiry Movers, and then it just became a thing that people wanted to use. Fun fact, actually. So just don't go off the sales pitch. Choose wisely. There's something called beating up your file, and if you work with these novices, what happens is that they start disputing. They send out these little templated letters, and when the credit bureaus verify that information inside of your credit profile, it becomes harder for the next person to remove it. So if you've gone from one credit repair company and they tried 5 times, and you're like, you know what, you're not doing anything, and you go to the second person, they did it 5 times, and that's not working out. And so now, like, Experian has that dispute 5 or 10 times, which makes it very difficult for the person who actually knows what they're doing to get that removed. Does that make sense, guys? So if you've ever defaulted, if you haven't settled it, you cannot go back. A lot of us, if you've had some issues and you were able to work with somebody and they deleted it from your credit report, you have to let us know, because if you defaulted with Bank of America and you never paid for it or settled it, you need to let us know, because I'm not going to go to Bank of America if you have something in bad standings for me. That's the importance of kind of transparency. That's why I always tell my clients, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's up to me to decide on what I can and cannot use. So these are all certain elements that I look for. There's also the back end reports. Right? It's not just the big three of Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. There's hundreds of different credit bureaus in the back end, right? LexisNexis, SageStream, which is now one company. You have Innovis, which is literally the fourth credit bureau that a lot of people use. ARS, CoreLogic, Check Systems. You've heard of these. And so this is kind of a little bit of a summary of how this works. So if you file for bankruptcy, right, the credit bureaus don't go to the court system and look at, hey, this person just filed for bankruptcy. No, it goes through the courts, right? You file for bankruptcy, goes through the courts, and then LexisNexis pulls that information from the court system, right? It's called PACE, PACE or PACER, I believe. And then the LexisNexis is the bridge between the credit bureaus. Does that make sense? And so they're able to verify a lot of what's going on through these third-party bureaus. So it's very essential that you do freeze some of those. Again, it's not 100% guarantee, but again, you want to put these roadblocks in place to help you with that. So to give you an example of what a LexisNexis report, that if you order it online, you can see that these are all the information that they have. And trust me, it could be 50 to 100 pages, from that. But, this is the information that pulls directly from the LexisNexis, and then it gets transcribed to the big bureaus from over there. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this, or if you want to freeze all your accounts, if you are in that, credit repair, category that you need to do some things with your credit optimization, this is probably recommended. Again, if you are in good standings, it's probably not good to freeze it, because a lot of these banks will pull a SageStream or an Innovis as a backup bureau. Okay, and if they're frozen, that can also maybe cause it. Now it's a little bit of a catch and phrase, from all that. Okay, hopefully you got the screenshot. Let's move forward.